What up? Welcome back to Pokémon, guys. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some places that you could be putting your money, specifically one set that I'm going to be talking about in this video. If you're looking to invest in Pokemon TCG and Pokemon cards and sealed product. So at the moment, things are very complicated with all the sets that are being released. You know, the Mega sets, Black and White, Destined Rivals, Prismatic Evolutions, all those sets that kind of came out after November or during November with Surging Sparks. Everything that came out after that has been a bit of a nightmare, honestly, because the prices are extremely high. It's out of stock on most, online stores. You can't find it in store. You're only buying it on the secondary market. And therefore the prices are really expensive and Pokemon aren't able to print enough to bring the prices down. So we don't really know what's going to be happening with that. And so a lot of people are probably wondering where they can be putting their money and what sets are still accessible price-wise that may have potential down the line. And one of the sets I want to talk about is VMAX Climax, which is a Japanese specialty set that I have opened up on the channel before. If you want to see that video, you can check my playlist with all my Pokemon card openings. So VMAX Climax is what I opened. And there are some very, very cool cards in the set. It's a very strong set. And I honestly think that the booster boxes, the Japanese specialty set booster boxes have some potential to grow in value. They already have, but I think they can go a lot further. And if you take a look at some other specialty sets that have been released in Japanese, they generally do very well over time. So other sets that you could be looking at are 151, V-Star Universe. But for today's video, we're talking about VMAX Climax. So in this set, you get some really, really solid cards. So we have Pikachu V, which features Red, so the trainer from the original Red and Blue version of the Pokemon games. So Red is basically the trainer that kind of looks like Ash, but you can see him featured on the Pikachu V card and also Pikachu VMAX, which are illustration rares or illustration rare equivalent of the Sword and Shield era. I think they're called character rares or character special rares or something like that. But those cards are incredible, really nice texture, really cool artworks on those, iconic trainer featured on the card. And you also have Blue with illustration rares or character rares, can't remember what they're called once again. But you see Blue, which is kind of the equivalent of Gary with Vaporeon, Flareon, and Jolteon, which is a really, really cool kind of throwback because I believe in the games, he would always pick the opposite starter from you. He would always pick the starter that's strongest against you in Red and Blue version. But I believe in Yellow version, Gary, or Blue, would always have an evolution in his team. So he would always start off with Eevee, whereas you would start off with Pikachu. So it really does follow the anime, even though Blue is called Gary in the anime and Red is called Ash. So they are slightly different characters, but they are very similar. Anyway, so Trainer Red is featured on those cards with Pikachu. We also have Gary or Blue with Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon. We have Bill with his Eevee as well. I don't know if you remember any of the Gen 2 games where, you get to Goldenrod City, you go to Bill's house, he gives you an Eevee because the Eevee's too much trouble to handle, like he doesn't have time for it. And on the card, you actually see him with Eevee and Eevee's kind of making a mess. So it goes along with the lore in the video games, which is a really nice touch, and I think that's really cool and gives some power to some of those cards, in terms of value, in terms of nostalgia and so on. And you know how nostalgia is often what drives a lot of the value in terms of which Pokemon are in the cards, maybe the scene that's depicted on the card. So that's very, very cool. And we also have some very, very strong Pokemon. So we have Rayquaza VMAX, and we also have Umbreon V and Umbreon VMAX. We also have Blaziken V, Blaziken VMAX. We have some incredible, incredible cards. And that's not to mention all the other illustration rares that you can have in the set. When I say illustration rares, you know what I mean. You have the non-textured variants, and then you have the kind of special illustration rare equivalent of the Sword and Shield era. So I will put those rarities up. You will see them on the cards anyway. I think it's CHR, so I think it's character rare. But I'm not too sure on that. Pretty sure that's what it is anyway. But yeah. Very, very strong cards that will be showing up on screen, very collectible cards, and I think they're kind of flying under the radar at the moment. And I do think that a lot of the singles are maybe worth picking up. I'm not really going to go into singles because it's never something I'd really want to advise. I think it's too volatile. But I do find that a lot of these singles are slightly underpriced for the Japanese cards anyway. And for the booster boxes, the prices have gone up, but I still think they have a long way to go. And these kinds of sets are the ones that people are going to want to open down the line because they're very fun to open. You get 10 packs per booster box. Each pack contains, I think, an ultra rare at the very least, so you will get a V card. In the Japanese variant of these sets, you do get you get a reverse foil card, which has a cool reverse foil effect that you only get in the Japanese side of the trading card game. And obviously, you get, you know, your 3 or 4, actually, I think it can be up to 4 character illustration rares, and then you also get a special illustration rare, so a textured version, so a textured alternate art card. And you can also get those kind of gold, kind of black and gold colored cards, which are like hyper rare equivalents, where you get Mew, Rayquaza, Pikachu, and a bunch of other Pokemon. But yeah, you get some really cool ones there. It's a very unique style of, you know, hyper rare. And you know how the silver Dialga grew in value? It wasn't very popular to begin with, but it really went up in value because it's quite unique. Well, these ones I find are quite unique as well. There aren't any other sets that have, you know, black and gold, you know, hyper rare, really high rarity cards, and there are some very popular Pokemon with Mew, Pikachu, and Rayquaza, which adds to the set. I mean, just take a look at the set list. You will see all of the amazing illustration rares or character rares and character special illustration rares, or whatever they're called. If you take a look at those cards, they are really incredible. And even if you look at the ones that I didn't mention, there are some really strong ones. You know, you have Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos in their Galarian forms, I believe, and there are so many other Pokemon. So because of all that, I really do think that VMAX Climax is a very good set to keep an eye on. Maybe pick up a few boxes if you can in nice condition to keep sealed and see how they grow over time. I do think they're going to do well. Like I said, Japanese specialty sets tend to do quite well because they are very, very fun to open. The hit rates are pretty nice, so you can always get something fun when you're opening a booster box. And I think it's going to be one of those fun sets that people want to open in a few years to come. And yeah, so I definitely take a look at those, take a look at the set list, like I said, and kind of get a feel for the set overall, but it's just really, really cool. The illustrations are absolutely amazing. There's a lot of potential there. Another one I didn't mention actually is, what's her name? Come on. Gym leader from Blackthorn City. I think she's called Claire, which is the dragon gym leader, dragon type gym leader who has a Kingdra as her most powerful Pokemon in her team. And there is a card with her on it with Kingdra, really nice illustration. So we do get really cool characters like gym leaders, Elite Four members, you know, some other trainers from Pokemon lore. And I just think that the set overall has a lot of appeal in that sense. And I really think it is a fun set. And I really think that you guys should be looking at that and looking at other sets. Don't be afraid to go into the Japanese side of things as well, because I have a feeling that if things continue, if prices of you know, English remain incredibly high for the foreseeable future, you know, I think there may be some opportunity there for Japanese. And you know, Japanese is like the second most popular language for the Pokemon TCG, and you know, Japanese cards are like the origin of it all. You know, Japan is where all the Pokemon cards are created, the illustrations are created, and you know, English is just a translation of the original Japanese Pokemon cards. So I know a lot of people like English, and it's the most transacted, the most popular set that people collect worldwide. Most popular set, I meant to say the most popular language, but Japanese is definitely worth looking at. The quality of the cards, the quality of the print, the textures, and so on. Yeah, very, very, very cool. Very, I'd say it's very important that you don't just stay focused on English, that you take the time to actually look towards Japanese. I wouldn't say much about the other languages because those are very specific, you know, German and French, you know, they'll only really be purchased within their own countries for the most part, not for everything, but for the most part. So I wouldn't really dabble too much in that unless you live in one of those countries and you have a market there for those languages, which makes sense. But if you're looking for, overall worldwide interesting cards or interesting languages, Japanese and English are definitely the ones you want to stick to. But yeah, don't be afraid to look away from English and go look at some of what's happening with other languages, other sets. The Japanese specialty sets are very cool because they do include cards that can only be obtained in some promo collection boxes and so on in English, that you can actually get in the booster boxes in Japanese. So I really do think that's very cool for the Japanese specialty sets, and that's a really good reason to go look at those. And once again, what's really cool about the Japanese specialty sets is that you do have guaranteed minimum hit rates. So if you take a look at 151, you take a look at, Terrastal Festival, which is the Japanese equivalent of Prismatic Evolutions. Take a look at V-Star Universe, which is the Japanese equivalent of Crown Zenith. VMAX Climax. All these sets have, minimum guaranteed hits. And so at least you know that you're getting something. Sometimes you'll go through some really expensive English packs and you won't get anything at all. Or you might get 1 or 2 illustration rares. But yeah, I think what I do like about the Japanese sets and booster boxes is that you know that within that sealed booster box, you have at least a minimum guarantee. And if you really think about it, I mean, opening up, the Japanese specialty sets is generally a lot more fun in terms of what you actually pull in those packs than going through the English stuff and, maybe you get something, maybe you don't. Sometimes you'll buy like 12 packs and for example, Blooming Washers 151 box. You might get like 1 illustration rare. I know it's, sometimes you can do really well, but sometimes you can do really bad. And it's nice to have that guarantee with the Japanese side of things. And just to get back to VMAX Climax, another thing I didn't mention in the beginning of the video is that a lot of the cards that are included in VMAX Climax are actually spread throughout multiple English sets. So if you take a look at, Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, Brilliant Stars, a lot of the trainer gallery cards in there are going to be spread throughout 3 different sets that you're going to have to open up to try and get those cards. Whereas with VMAX Climax, everything's included within one single set. And in that booster box, you have a chance of getting any of those trainer gallery cards. So that's something that's really cool as well. And I definitely recommend that you take a look at that set. Think about maybe buying a few just for investment purposes to hold for, a few years and see what happens. I think it's a good play. I think there is a lot of potential there. And I bought a few myself. So yeah, just thought I'd make a video on that. I hope that everything kind of made sense. I hope that I helped to kind of draw your attention, not that I'm trying to draw your attention away from English, but maybe get you to look at other languages as well, so Japanese specifically. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope everything made sense. Until next time, take care, peace out, bye!